That night, Jerusalem was quiet, but something eternal was about to unfold. In an upper room, dimly lit by oil lamps, sat 12 men and their teacher. Jesus Christ knew what was coming, but they did not. The table was set, bread, wine, silence, and a tension no one could explain. Jesus looked at them, not just as followers, but as friends, brothers, men he had walked with, laughed with, loved. And yet, this would be their final meal together. He lifted the bread, paused. "This is my body, given for you." He broke it. Each crack echoed like a whisper of what was to come. Then he lifted the cup. "This is my blood, poured out for many." The disciples exchanged confused glances. They didn't understand, but heaven did. This was not just a meal, this was a covenant. Then the room shifted. Jesus spoke again. "One of you will betray me." Shock, fear, disbelief. Each one whispered, "Is it I?" Even the one who already knew the answer. Judas Iscariot sat among them, silent, hiding darkness behind familiar eyes. Jesus looked at him, not with anger, but with sorrow. "What you are about to do, do quickly." And just like that, Judas stood and walked into the night. Later, in a garden called Gethsemane, Jesus withdrew to pray. The weight of the world pressed upon him. Not just physical pain, but the full weight of sin, of humanity's brokenness, of every lie, every betrayal, every failure. He fell to the ground. "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me." A pause, a trembling breath. "Yet not my will, but yours be done." His sweat became like drops of blood. This was not weakness. This was obedience at its highest cost. Then came the sound. Footsteps, armor, torches piercing the darkness. Judas returned, not alone. Soldiers surrounded the garden, and with a kiss, he identified the Son of God. A kiss, a symbol of love, twisted into betrayal. They seized Jesus. The disciples panicked. One drew a sword, but Jesus stopped him. This must happen. And just like that, they all fled. He was dragged through the night, from one court to another. False witnesses arose, lies were spoken, truth stood silent. "Are you the Son of God?" they demanded. "I am." That was enough. To them, it was blasphemy. To heaven, it was truth. They struck him, mocked him, blindfolded him. "Prophesy, who hit you?" But he said nothing. By morning, Jesus stood before Pontius Pilate, a man of power, a man who knew something wasn't right. "I find no fault in him," he said. But the crowd demanded more. "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Pilate hesitated, then offered a choice: Jesus or Barabbas. The crowd chose. "Give us Barabbas." And just like that, innocence was exchanged for guilt. Pilate washed his hands. "I am innocent of this man's blood." But history would remember, he still gave the order. They stripped him, tied him to a post, and the whipping began. Each strike tore into his flesh. Blood fell to the ground. The Son of God reduced to a broken body. They placed a crown on his head, not of gold, but of thorns, pressed deep into his skull. They mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews!" They laughed, but heaven wept. He was forced to carry it, a heavy wooden cross, through the streets, through the crowd, through the pain. He stumbled, fell, got up again, step by step towards Calvary. They nailed his hands, they nailed his feet. Each strike echoed through eternity. And then they lifted him, suspended between heaven and earth, rejected by man, yet fulfilling heaven's plan. "Father, forgive them, they do not know what they are doing." Even in agony, he chose mercy. To one criminal beside him, he said, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Grace, even on the cross. Then darkness fell. The sky turned black. The earth shook. And Jesus cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" For the first time, he felt the separation sin brings. And then, with his final breath, it is finished. Not defeat, but victory. The temple veil tore in two from top to bottom. The barrier between God and man was gone. A Roman soldier looked up and said, "Surely this was the Son of God." His body was taken down, wrapped in linen, placed in a tomb. A stone rolled shut. Silence fell. Hope seemed buried. But heaven was not finished, because this was not the end. This was only the beginning. The cross was not just suffering, it was love on display, a sacrifice, a rescue mission for you, for me, for the world. And 3 days later, everything would change. If this story moved you, if you felt something deep within, don't ignore it, because the same love that hung on that cross is still reaching for you today.